Ladies and gentlemen, coming to you live from the Lucky Dog studio in a hidden location somewhere in the upper Midwest of the United States of America, it's a brother making his own way but with all the wrong opinions. Welcome to the Morning Night Live with your host, the one and only P-Dog Night.
Hey there, hi there, ho there, you're as welcome as can be. P-Dog Night is my name, also known as Marty. That didn't work. Anyway, good damn morning, everybody. Welcome to the Morning Night Live. I'm your host, Marty, also known as P-Dog Night on the internet. And welcome back to the P-Dog Night channel, where Gunfox is coming in hot, dropping in 3 Hamiltons right off the bat, article after article after article. We'll get to those because I don't have a long list today. I'm not even doing. I will go through trending topics so fast that it'll make your head spin, and we'll do some real stuff. So thank you, Gunfox. First one says, "Oh really?" Second one says, "Oh, let me play the world's smallest violin for you," and the third one is called the War Report Middle East Theater. So there you go. We're going to talk about Syria. We talked about it a little bit yesterday, but wait, you haven't done enough drugs yet this morning. It's not a work day, so I got a late start. Well, I'm glad you're here, Cheshire Smurf. It's been a long time since I've seen you here live. Anyway, so I got a few articles, some things I missed last week that I wanted to talk about, but I didn't, especially our friend Ray Epps here. Let's go into the capital Epps. And just some other random stuff. So there you go. You can hear me okay? Everything's good. Sound levels are right. Okay, we're going to do this thing. I'm going to turn this up just a little bit. Yeah, there we go. That's better. Well, it makes me louder and you can hear me smack my lips and shit, which I know drives Sinatra crazy. But anyway, hi. Let's say hi to you now because that's what I do. First in the chat today, of course, is Avocados Diabli, who gets the bell. And lots of other noises. Also, good morning to Somnambul Nation. By the way, did y'all tweet out the show yet? I'm pretty sure y'all did. Some of you did. Yeah, Somnambul. Well, of course, Somnambul Nation did. And it even dropped a really nice Let's Go. Now, I didn't put your Let's Go up from yesterday, but you have a good one today, too. Let me show the Let's Go from Somnambul. Easy for me to say, Somnambul Nation. Yeah, let's go. If you haven't done that yet, click that link up at the top and drop a Let's Go and X the app formerly known as Twitter. Also, good morning, Tyler F. What's up? Steph Colonel, what's going on? Also, Mr. Tyre Alexander, the Scourge. Good morning, Darren Root. What's up? Trippy Liberty. What's up, my brother? Good morning, Lord Stanhope. Bookworm Addicts in the house. Nice to see you. Johnny Boomer Tech doing the thing. Of course, Johnny Boomer Tech, he sits right over there. Who else is here? Midnight in Exile. Thank you. I've been waiting. I needed to start the show. Thank you. Give me a 3, 2, 1. Wait, no, that's 1, 2, 3. No, you know what I mean. Anyway, also Cheshire Smurf. Nice to have you here live. And that's it in the chat. Now it says there are it says there's only 14 people here. That's weird. Is that all there's here? Well, everyone must be chatting because I think I just said 14 people. Well, we need to fix that. Can we get some people in here? What the hell's going on? What's going on today? Maybe it's just Saturday and no one's expecting me. No one expects the Spanish Inquisition, and no one expects me to stream on Saturdays. So, well, we'll deal with it. I guess, it is what it is. But the quality people are here. I'm just saying. So, all right, let's get into the show. I didn't really put, I don't really have a list of trending topics. We can take a peek. I mean, just real quick, I don't really, we usually do the trending topics on X, and probably most of them are sports related. I'm going to guess. I didn't even look at them. Oh, what the hell? Look at this. What's with this picture of AOC? What is going on with her? She's nominal. She's mildly attractive, but until she opens her mouth. I'm just scrolling here. Here's Undoomed asking, how many animals do you see? There's a bear, there's a cow, there's a wolf, there's a bird, there's a rabbit, there's a butterfly, there's a snail, a kitty, cat. Any more animals? That's all I got there. And I think that's it. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I suppose you could call this little white thing here a slug. You can't even see my cursor, can you? Can you see? Oh, you can see my cursor. Okay. Just curious. Just needs a checkup from the neck up. Oh, come on now. I know what you were looking at. You were looking at something. You was looking at, I know what you were looking at. Cenk Uygur has been interesting lately too. And this is not trending. It's just, I've just noticed, he's been tweeting a lot the last couple days. And he says, this is interesting. Listen to this. This is Cenk. Cenk Uygur says, I've been trying to figure out why I'm more optimistic now than I was before the election, even though I was so against the guy who won. I know now MAGA is not my mortal enemy, and neither is the extreme left. My mortal enemy is the establishment, and they've been defeated. Cenk, what up? Then he says, it's not just that the establishment candidate lost, it's that their media is mortally wounded. The source of their strength was not the insipid politicians like Mitch McConnell and Joe Biden. The source of their strength was the propaganda machine, the mainstream media. Now online media is strong enough that their oppression monopoly on the American mind has been broken. Now we are the judge. They hate that. I love it. This uncontrolled marketplace of ideas is where I'm home. I'd rather be in the populist woods than the establishment prison. Oh my God, who is that guy? Who the hell is that? Even Catridge says, good grief, MAGA has been fighting against the uniparty war pigs for 8 years. Someone here, George, you know my friend George Behezy or whatever, says, I'm glad you're realizing this. However, it wouldn't be much more impactful. It would be a much more impactful message if you realized it before November 5th. Nonetheless, I pray you wake up to realize you have been wrong on many other things also, which Cenk has actually been, he and Anna both have been going through this weird transition, and I don't mean drugs and knives, of just understanding that the establishment is the problem. And the more we figure that out, those are the institutions that need to go. And these institutionalists are, as much as, me, I think Trump's a bit of a jackass, but he's also not an institutionalist. And that's what I'm hoping, that's my greatest hope, that he breaks down some of these institutions and destroys some of this giant bureaucracy that is not part of what the country should be. And if I'm not even necessarily against a leftist populist doing that too. Although the problem is the leftist populist, like let's say Bernie Sanders was a leftist populist until he got into the Senate, and then he became just this establishment fuck. And that's the problem. It's Washington that changes some of these people, and I need there be people in Washington that says, wait a minute. When are we going to tear some of this down? When are we going to start repealing things instead of constantly making new laws or new established, agencies? Like George W. Bush, he created the Department of Homeland Security, which made that whole Steele dossier, the whole investigations, the FISA court thing. He made all that possible by all these agencies getting on the same page. And I just, I don't know. It's crazy. Cenk trying to get in good before they get canceled. I don't think they're going to get canceled. Well, they're going to get canceled by their own people. That's the problem with what's going to happen there. That's my opinion. Good morning, Chicago Mike. Nice to see you. Fox P2's in the house. And Bonehead Dumbass, welcome to the show. I'm glad you're here. So anyway, wild stuff coming out from just some various things. Oh, here's Joe Walsh again. Why do so many... Joe Walsh. This guy is... Well, I'll come back to Joe Walsh. Anyway, let's go into I want to check the trending topics real quick, then let's get out of here. Get out of this thing. Oh, wait, couple more notifications. Thank you. Let's see, Gunfox61, Somnambule Nation for tweeting out the show. Again, click that link at the top of the chat and just give me a let's go. Some kind of let's go. In fact, I'm going to put let me show you how we do it. This is how we do it. Oh, you go here, you go under my tweet right here. See that? That's my tweet. Then you click your link on the reply and you say, let's go. And then you find an appropriate GIF. Okay, so I'm going to hit this GIF or GIF if you prefer, because it's graphic something from something. The G is graphics, was G, but a lot of people like to say GIF. I guess I say GIF mostly. Anyway, and then you find an appropriate GIF, which let's go. Well, let's put this one. That's fine. Let's go. It doesn't have to be completely related. It doesn't have to say let's go. It just it has to give that feeling of let's go. And yeah, see, let's go. Right? Okay, so there you go. That's how you do it. This is how we do it. All right. I wanted to check just briefly the trending topics, but I'm not going to spend a lot of time on them. But let's just see what the things on here are trending. We're just going to go down the list. Might not even click on them unless it's interesting. By the way, it is Small Business Saturday though. Today's yesterday it was Black Friday, right? And then they call this Small Business Saturday, and then they have Cyber Monday, right? I think Small Business Saturday might be the most important thing that you can, if you're going to go shopping for things, go check out the small businesses around your town. Little trinket shop on the corner, or better yet, it's really cool when Lady Boomer and I go to all these small towns we go to, because that's how we travel. We travel around small towns in the United States. You find as many cool things you'd find anywhere else you travel. And sometimes there's just a cool little shop that has stuff in it that someone made something, and you go, oh, I'm going to make that, or I'm going to buy some honey. Some guy in the farmer has a beehive back there where he does his own honey or something. Go buy something local. Support local businesses, man. Anyway, so that's on the, oh, sorry, I should probably put this on the screen. So I don't know what LF Dog don't care. Small Business Saturday, that's a good one. Las Palmas, that's something sports related. Real ID is trending. Why is Real ID trending? So let's see the top tweet. Starting in a few months, the federal government will ban U.S. citizens from flying domestically without a real ID, but we allow unvetted people to vote, reside, and work in multiple states without proper identification or authorization. This is insanity. Good point, Jack. And he says, to be clear, I'm calling for mass compliance with real ID. The feds are pushing travel bans on law-abiding citizens. Oh, mass non-compliance with real ID. The feds are pushing travel bans on law-abiding citizens while unvetted illegals get the red carpet. This is insanity, and we don't have to take it anymore. Well, that's a good point. And when you look at this, someone right here. If real ID is required to fly, then I refuse to go to any of these blue states until they require ID to vote. So a lot of these states do not require an ID to vote, and those are all the states that Kamala Harris won, by the way. She won the states where you don't. She didn't win New Mexico though. But isn't that wild? These are the states where you do not have to prove who you are or whatever to vote. But now we're going to have a real ID to be able to travel to another country. Now I already have real ID. Because I got the one where you can travel to Canada and Mexico without a passport or whatever, and whatever. Gunfox, I don't need a real ID. I got a TWIC card. What is TWIC? Spell that out for me. I don't know what that is. So anyway, people are talking about that. Lando, something about racing. Catterday, that's a cat turd thing. No, it's not a cat. It's put your cat on. Well, here, I got to be careful when you click some things, because when someone sees cat, they automatically think it's time to drop a picture of your cat, so to speak, on the line. Well, you know what? Here we go. Now this is two cats on Catterday. A little bit too close to the cat, but you know what I'm saying. Anyway, there's a cat hugging a kitten, whatever, or maybe it's a bunny. I don't know. All right, so a cat embracing cat. So that's Catterday. I don't care about that. Let's see. Anything else go blue? Oh, is it Michigan, Ohio State today? I think Michigan's going to get their ass kicked. Saturday Vibe. Andrew Luck is trending. I don't know why. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau is trending, probably because he's visiting Mar-a-Lago. Here it is. This is funny. Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau is currently on his way to kiss President Trump's ass on Friday night in West Palm Beach. There's video. Is this the video of the motorcade? 1, 2, 3 Suburbans. Well, boy, that carbon footprint of Prime Minister Trudeau is pretty big there, isn't it? Oh, you thought it was a cat and a puppy? It could have been. I don't know. I don't really care. Let's see. Canadian Prime Minister is arriving in Palm Beach, Florida. Mar-a-Lago to meet with President Trump and bend the knee. As previously predicted, Big Daddy is back in charge. Oh, God. There's a lot of people very upset about him coming to visit President Trump. And some people are saying that the reason Trudeau's coming to Mar-a-Lago is they're saying that Trump's a convicted felon and can't travel to Canada, Mexico, whatever. Well, first of all, the whole convicted felon thing, Trump's not a convicted felon. Yes, a jury brought in a verdict of guilty, but that verdict by the jury has never been officially pronounced by a judge, and he hasn't been convicted or sentenced. So, and in fact, if you didn't know this, a guilty verdict that a jury comes back with does not mean you're automatically convicted. For example, in the sentencing, if the judge decides to set aside a verdict, then there is no conviction. It's not a conviction until there is sentencing. So, he's not a convicted felon. And a lot of people like the other one that I keep seeing is adjudicated rapists. That's the one that comes up now because people say, well, he wasn't convicted of that crime, which he was not. But that doesn't, you're not adjudicated to it either. First of all, that case with the E. Jean Carroll, the jury specifically did not check that box. And also the whole, there was no trial in that particular instance. So a lot of people like to use that, but he's not a convicted felon, guys. Sorry. Nice try. Moving on, what else is trending real quick? We'll go through some more of these. I can put on the screen until I click one. Oh, Zelensky's trending. Now, why is Zelensky trending? Oh, let's see. Well, let's see what the first one here is. Chris Cuomo. Oh, gosh. What does this have to do? Chris Cuomo says Zelensky is spreading Russian propaganda. The guy needs a new boogeyman. If Trump can make a deal, great, but demonizing Ukraine to fuel the right fringe is pointless and doesn't help Trump make a deal. What? Which Dave Smith says, hello, professional liar. I'm making fun of the fact that many of us were smeared with the same accusation by people like you for making the same case at the beginning of the war. No one is making Zelensky out to be a boogeyman. He's a pawn, much like you were at CNN. Oh, God. That's funny. Let's see. Putin will not allow Ukraine to join NATO. The attempt to join was a major catalyst for the invasion. Zelensky knows this. The only real pathway to peace is a formal partition along the current battle lines and guaranteed neutrality. You don't have to like it, but it's the truth. So they're trying, even though they're still fighting, they're still negotiating. Ukraine is running out of people to fight. Russia is bringing in people from other parts of the world to fight. Boris Johnson just the other day was talking in some forum and basically said that this is actually a proxy war. This shit's not getting any better. Not very getting better. Let's see. Someone named Zelensky offered to come to have a chat with Joe Rogan about the war in Ukraine, but Joe refused. He'd rather get the story from his extremely biased pro-Kremlin friends like RFK Jr., Elon Musk. What? Oh my God. It's like, if you can't it's almost like you can't have an opinion without being a Putin, pro-Putin or whatever. Gary Kasparov says Rogan is under no obligation to host Zelensky, Klitschko, or anyone else, but after viciously attacking Ukraine with BS talking points, his agenda is clear. If he doesn't allow for equal time, I'll also offer my services if a chess champion isn't too threatening for it. Well, thank you, Gary Kasparov. Whatever. So apparently Joe Rogan has just rejected Ukraine President Zelensky's offer to join him for a show on his podcast. Joe Rogan is a legend. Someone else says this doesn't even make sense. Say you hate Zelensky, wouldn't you love to see Joe Rogan grill him over 3 hours, smash him with tough questions? They know Zelensky speaks the truth, so that's why they don't want to host him. Zelensky, maybe, or whether Zelensky speaks the truth or not, he's certainly a profiteer on this American dime. People say, I think he owns 4 villas in various vacation spots around the world now. He's a billionaire now. He's a comedian, whatever. I guess he's the equivalent of Donald Trump. He's an entertainer who got put in this role, but and pushed into the role basically by various, I don't know how to describe it. Various coercions by other countries have kind of ruled Ukraine for a while, and somehow they got him in there, and now the idea that Ukraine could be a part of NATO is, for Russia at least, it seems like that'd be somewhat of an act of war. There's supposed to be a buffer between the NATO countries and Russia, and we've been encroaching on that for a long time. And again, I will never justify the invasion of Ukraine by Russia, but let's just be real about it. I can understand why they may be concerned, just as we would be concerned if Russia started taking over the Eastern Bloc countries again, or started making them allies into some new, Russian conglomerate war, deterrent against the West, who's, it's like if suddenly Russia decided to become allies with Mexico, would we be concerned, or made them, let's say there's a Eastern Bloc Treaty Organization that their sole goal was to deter military invasion by NATO. And all of a sudden they decided to make Mexico part of the Eastern Bloc Treaty Organization. Do you think we would be concerned about that? Well, of course we would. So, it's just logic that some of this is going on. Now, the area in Donbass where the Ukrainians had been, starving the people there, bombing the people there for years, and a lot of them are Russian nationals in that area. I can understand why, if they're screaming for help, maybe Russia would want to help in that area. Maybe they should just stop, find a way to stop fighting in that area. I don't know, but the idea that means you're a Putin apologist, for seeing the logic of it, go fuck yourself. All right. I cleared that up, I think. Other things trending. Good morning, by the way. Who else just showed up? Reaction Puerto Rico's here. And Lunatics in the house. Nice to see you. All right. Other things trending. That's why Zelensky's trending. Anything else I care about? Good Saturday flick. That's soccer. This soccer. Lots of soccer stuff going on. Kutoshi farming. I'm assuming that's a game. Don't care. Not that I don't like games. And go Buckeyes. All right. Nothing else trending. I'm not even going to put links to any of that stuff. So let's move on to things I do have links to. Let's start with some news that I completely forgot to talk about last week, or this week. And that is Mr. Ray Epps. On Thursday or Wednesday, it might have been Wednesday, a judge ruled to dismiss the lawsuit filed by January 6th operative Ray Epps against Tucker Carlson and Fox News for defamation. The judge dismissed it without comment. She might have felt it was there was validity to the claims that Epps was a Fed. Well, I don't know about that. This is speculation by our friend George here. Anyone with a brain knows that January 6th was a deep state setup to distract people from the stolen 2020 election, the real insurrection. Every single convicted J6er must be pardoned and active cases must be dropped. None of this case by case basis nonsense. Well, yeah, somewhere who beating the shit out of police may need to stay in jail for a little bit, but otherwise, it was a protest that turned into a riot, and since that they've been dismissing cases of similar types for years, and in fact recently, maybe the same people should get some consideration. But that's George. He's very pro-Trump and whatever. So there you go. Now, other people talking about this. Let's see. Dana Fauci. Here's a little whole thread. If you need to get caught up or reminded about Ray Epps, it's a real good thread on just all the things that he did, and lots of good information. But I want to actually, and I'll leave this in the links, but I want to go into some of the articles and how different types of media are treating this. I need to save this. I'll come back to this. Let's move this down here. This is it. There we go. All right. What is this? Oh, no, that's Joy Reid. We'll get to that. Let's talk about how different media outlets are covering this, though. So we're going to start. Oh, this is this stupid Joy Reid thing. Hang on, let me move that over. Yeah, there we go. All right, let's see how some different media outlets are covering. Let's start with Zero Hedge. Zero Hedge is fairly neutral, but not adverse to. I mean, I guess. Well, Tyler Burden's more right-ish, and certainly fair to Trump. But Zero Hedge is an independent outlet. So here we go. Just months after a judge dismissed Gina Jankowicz's much-hyped defamation lawsuit against Fox, a federal district court judge in Delaware, Judge Jennifer L. Hall, has dismissed Ray Epps' defamation suit. The January 6th rioters said the network falsely identified him as an FBI informant. Now here's something interesting about that. Let's start with that premise. He was suing Fox News for saying that he was falsely identified as an FBI informant. That's defamation? that should tell you something right there. If you are you're saying being called an FBI informant is defamation, well, I agree. That's a pretty bad thing. Must be a pretty bad thing to be, right? Anyway, in the original complaint, Epps made the defamation per se claim and a false light claim. Epps and his wife have clearly been through a nightmare of threats and innuendo. However, this public controversy was discussed by various networks and the January 6th committee. It was also a matter of legitimate public debate and commentary with the people on both sides expressing their views on the evidence and underlying allegations. The problem for the court was trying to draw a line when coverage and commentary becomes defamation on such subjects. The chilling effect on free speech can be immense. The Supreme Court has repeatedly ruled that tort law could not be used to overcome First Amendment protections for free speech or the free press. The court sought to create breathing space for the media by articulating that the standard and now applies to both public officials and public figures. The status imposes a higher standard first imposed in the New York Times versus Sullivan for public officials, requiring a showing of actual malice where media had actual knowledge of the falsity of a statement or showed reckless disregard whether it was true or false. Now based in Utah, Epps alleged his life was upended after former Fox host Tucker Carlson repeatedly described him as a federal agent who helped instigate the attack on the Capitol, which was an attempt to stop the certification of the election of Joe Biden. The breathing space cuts both ways. In reporting on the dismissal of the Epps lawsuit, it is notable that the Associated Press is still referring to January 6th as an insurrection rather than a riot. Curious, when you hit the link on insurrection, it goes to an article on the dropping of the Smith case, which notably did not change charge Trump or anyone else with insurrection or even incitement. Yet the AP is still reporting, quote, the insurrection, end quote, as a fact. The dismissal of Jankowicz directly addresses the dangers of using the courts to try to silence your critics. The case backfired on Jankowicz in prompting a court to expressly state that what she has been advocating is censorship. You remember Jankowicz, she was going to be on that the Trusted Information Board or whatever the fuck that was called. After holding that people are allowed to criticize Jankowicz as protected opinion, the court added, quote, I agree that Jankowicz has not pleaded facts from which it could plausibly be inferred that she challenged statements regarding intended censorship by Jankowicz are not substantially true. On the contrary, censorship is commonly understood to encompass efforts to scrutinize and examine speech in order to suppress certain communications, which she certainly was doing. The Disinformation Governance Board was formed precisely to examine citizen speech and in coordination with the private sector, identify misinformation, disinformation, and malinformation. That objective is fairly characterized as a form of censorship. Duh. Thank you, court. Jankowicz previously solicited significant contributions on the premise of this ill-conceived lawsuit. Nevertheless, Jankowicz is still being touted as a hero and enlisted to explain who to combat disinformation. The calls for greater censorship are likely to increase after the election. However, we have seen figures like Hillary Clinton call on Europeans to force the censorship of Americans. So anyway, Ray Epps loses his case. Good. Real quick, thank you, Gunfox61, dropping another trace in the tip jar. Who says, okay, this is Gunfox's words and not mine, but they are quite eloquent, and I think it's important that we credit him with this communication. Quote, that fucker bitch ass fucked up want to be cop that killed the veteran should be dragged before a military judge in a military courtroom and tried before 12 veterans for murder and be held in a military prison until the trial can be held. Okay, well, that's fantastic. I particularly like the very apt description, that fucker bitch ass fucked up wannabe cop. I'm pretty sure you're talking about I'm sure the guy who killed Ashley Babbitt, I'm assuming. Okay. Anyway, so that's how Zero Hedge covered this. Now, let's check out the Daily Beast, very left of center. Now, it's funny because the Zero Hedge, their headline is Epps loses defamation case against Fox News, mentioning Epps first because he should be the focal point. But the Daily Beast chose as a headline, Fox wins another defamation suit over Tucker Carlson's January coverage. So they want to focus on Fox and Tucker Carlson, and then there's sub-headline down here in tiny letters, Ray Epps sued over Carlson's unfounded theory that he was a government agent on January 6th. So again, it's one of their favorite tactics is whenever it's something that a Republican says, they'll say without evidence or unfounded or whatever. But Democrats say shit without evidence all the time. In fact, the calling it an insurrection is kind of an unfounded or ethical, descriptive name of what happened on January 6th. It was not an insurrection. There was no attempt to take over the government. That's the problem. So anyway, here's how they start. Here's their lead. Fox News has won its second defamation ruling in as many days after a federal judge in Delaware on Wednesday dismissed a former Trump supporter's claim. Again, and they're also describing him with, instead of just saying Ray Epps, saying a former Trump supporter. So making it sound like, well, this guy, he was a Trump supporter who did this. A former Trump supporter's claim that ex-host Tucker Carlson acted with actual malice when he said the man was a government provocateur during the January 6th insurrection. So Notice how the first paragraph is kind of, they're focusing on the charge and not the fact the charge is dropped, trying to make you put the charge in front of your mind more than the fact that it was bogus. The suit was brought in July 2023 by Ray Epps after Carlson had made him the target. And I see again, Tucker Carlson didn't make him the target of anything. Anyone who paid attention to this knew about Ray Epps before Tucker Carlson ever reported on it. There was calls for, what about this Ray Epps guy? Long before it made it anywhere on Fox News. Tucker Carlson was late to the party. Let's just say. And again, and listen to this sentence. The suit was brought in July 2023 by Ray Epps after Carlson had made him the target of one of his conspiracy theories. Oh, Tucker Carlson, he just has a bunch of conspiracy theories. Months later, though, Epps was charged, effectively putting to rest that unfounded notion. Yeah, it took a lot to get. You know how many people had to talk about this in Congress before Ray Epps was even charged? He was one of the only January 6th participants who went to court that did not have to serve any jail time. Think about that. He was one of the first people to breach. He was among the first people to breach the barriers around the Capitol, and he's the only one who didn't get jail time. Now, there's other people who have been charged that are in that crowd too, that were wondering, well, why haven't they been charged? Like the guy he whispered to, that guy hasn't been in court yet either. But anyway, months later, though, Ray Epps was blah blah blah. Putting to rest that unfounded notion. No, it didn't put the unfounded notion to rest. The fact that he got treated with kid gloves, the fact that everyone on the left and all the Never Trumpers, whatever, were all defending the man when he clearly was the one who's asking for people to go into the Capitol. I mean, why were they defending him? Why are they still defending him to this day? Epps would go on to plead guilty to the misdemeanor charge of disorderly conduct on restricted grounds and was given probation. Wow. You mean he wasn't part of the fact that the reason the vote was delayed and he led all these people up to the Capitol and told them to go into the Capitol, and yet he was not an instigator? Fascinating. Despite what Carlson said about Epps, again, they're making it about Carlson and not the fact that this case is dismissed. Despite what Carlson said about Epps, defamation cases are difficult to win. Oh, so they just won because they're difficult to win. Judge Jennifer Hall acknowledged that though Carlson may have engaged in subpar journalism, it didn't reach the standard of acting with malice intent. According to the New York Times, the further evidence of Epps' uphill battle, Fox lawyers once successfully defended Carlson in a slander case by arguing that viewers shouldn't take him literally. See, now they're just trying to make it so, you should not listen to him. Following the dismissal of the Jankowicz, Bobulinski, and now Epps cases, Fox News is pleased with these back-to-back decisions from federal courts preserving press freedoms of the First Amendment, a spokesperson told the Daily Beast. On Tuesday, a New York judge dismissed the defamation lawsuit against host Jessica Tarloff by one of House Republicans' witnesses in its ill-fated Biden impeachment effort. Over the summer, another defamation suit was dismissed. This was filed by Nina Jankowicz, the former head of the Biden administration's short-lived Disinformation Governance Board within the Department of Homeland Security. Jankowicz alleged that the network repeatedly force-fed lies about me to tens of millions of their viewers, resulting in violent threats and harassment. Fox, which settled a defamation suit in April with Dominion Voting Systems for $787 million, still faces a $2.7 billion defamation suit by voting technology company Smartmatic. So that's going to be interesting if that one keeps going. But you can tell the difference in the tone. That's clearly they're thinking that the suit was justified and whatnot. Real quick. Good morning, Black Hebrew Israelite. Oh my gosh.
That's right.
That's old home is home. What's up, brother? Also, Frankie Deller. Well, good morning. Nice to see you again too. Let's see, how many people are here now? Are there more people here? We got 35 people here and only 14 likes. What the fuck's going on? Y'all hit the damn like button. Shit. All right. Let me unpin this thing too. It doesn't need to be there. All right. Then also, let's see how the Washington Post looks at this Ray Epps situation and how if their language is any different than the Daily Beast. Now, wait, let me check real quick. Who wrote this Daily Beast article? Someone named William Vilencourt. Yeah, that explains a lot. I'm familiar with his writing. Washington Post. Judge dismisses lawsuit against Fox News over January 6th coverage. Ray Epps had argued that he was falsely accused of being a federal informant who played a role in fomenting the riot. Well, he certainly did have a role in fomenting the riot. Now, it's interesting. Daily Beast. Fox wins another defamation suit. Judge dismisses lawsuit against Fox. Subheadline is about the same. A Delaware judge Wednesday dismissed a defamation lawsuit last year by Ray Epps, an Arizona man who sued Fox News for comments made on the air about him that suggested he was an undercover federal agent who played a role in fomenting the violence on January 6th. Okay. So their headline is focused on the judge. Their first line is about the judge dismissing the case. Okay. Now notice the difference. Again, let's look at the difference between this one is more about Fox won. Okay. That's their first words. Fox won the suit versus a judge dismissed the suit. It's a subtle little difference, but it's just interesting to see how they do it differently. Good morning. Amazing disgrace. Wasn't expecting a Saturday show? Well, no one expects the Spanish Inquisition either. Just saying. I already made that joke once, but you weren't here for it, so there you go. Now, let's see. While Epps protested outside the Capitol that day, he was not among the people found to have breached the complex. Well, how could he be found not to breach the complex if he was one of the first people to breach the complex? The complex is anywhere there are barriers to the Capitol, which those first barriers, those bike rack barriers, they were. How can you say he was not found to have breached the complex when he was among the first people to cross the line? That's crazy. But hosts such as Tucker Carlson, who at the time hosted a primetime show on Fox, highlighted video evidence of Epps outside the Capitol to suggest his presence was planned. What? In one 2022 broadcast, Carlson told viewers that Epps helped stage manage the insurrection. Carlson also highlighted the fact that Epps had not been charged with a crime as evidence that he was a government asset. Ultimately, Epps was charged with a misdemeanor defense, disorderly conduct on restricted grounds, and given probation. Again, one of the extremely rare cases of probation. I mean, obviously, that's just a little show, right? They weren't. There's something just messed up about the whole Ray Epps situation. I'm never gonna change my mind about that. But the idea that he had not breached the complex, of course he did, because the barriers are the complex. If you break one set of barriers, you have breached the barriers of the complex. Then also highlight that what is the other part? Suggest that his presence was planned. Well, how did he get there then? Was he just in Washington D.C. and randomly walked up there? Or was he among the very first people to breach a line that was set around that complex? He was obviously there. There's video evidence of him doing it. God, I can't believe they wrote that. Fox, in its defense against the lawsuit, argued that its on-air hosts were entitled to the protection of the First Amendment to raise questions about why Epps had not been charged. The network also argued that the host had issued protected opinions about Epps rather than factual assertions, an argument that was also made to defend against the defamation lawsuit filed in the Dominion voting systems over its coverage of the 2020 election. In a statement, Fox celebrated the recent dismissals of two other defamation lawsuits against the network and its employees. One was filed against Fox News host Jessica Charloff by Tony Bobolinsky, a former associate of Hunter Biden, over a comment she made about his legal defense being paid for by a pro-Donald Trump group. Another was filed by disinformation. Oh my God. They describe this person as disinformation expert Nina Jankowicz. The one who insults MAGA people by singing Broadway show tunes. And it's not just the lyrics. She insults us by singing anything. Holy shit. Disinformation expert. Who argued that she had been smeared on the network and had her career damaged by telling the truth about her. Following the dismissals of Jankowicz, Bobulinski, and the now Epps cases, Fox News is pleased with these back-to-back decisions from federal courts preserving the press freedoms of the First Amendment, the network said on Wednesday afternoon. Fox News, okay, then they go, and so basically the Daily Beast article basically just mimicked and rewrote the New York Times article. He should get a plagiarism charge or something against him. Anyway, all right, so there you go. That's all about Ray Epps. Real quick, thank you, Gunfox61. Dropping another Hamilton in the tip jar. You are still the Streamlabs Superstar sponsor today. By the way, if you want to sponsor the show, here, let me bookmark one of these bad boys, because the best place to do the sponsoring is at pdognight.live. What happened to Johnny Boomer Tech? Is he here somewhere? I could have sworn I saw oh, I see. There's that. Oh, apparently Johnny Boomer Tech is not doing his job today. Huh. I wonder why that is. Well, we'll figure that out later. All right. pdognight.live/tips, or just pdognight.live. It takes you right to the tip page. All right. Thank you, Gunfox. It says, breaking news in Miami. Car explodes in a shipping container. Holy shit. What? All right. Well, let's do that since it's breaking news. Let's go to the breaking news, and then we'll move on after that. Here we go. Video shows fire at Port Miami cargo yard. Some users on social media said they heard a loud explosion before the inferno. A fire broke out at Port Miami Friday night, sending huge flames into the air. A vehicle caught fire inside a shipping container and a cargo yard, and Miami-Dade Fire Rescue confirmed. The inferno happened around 11:30 p.m. Firefighters rushed to the scene and doused the flames. No one was injured. Multiple videos on social media showed the flames shooting into the night sky. Some users on social media said they heard a loud explosion before the inferno. Officials are investigating the cause of fire. So is this the video? Here, let me try to get this video on screen here. Maybe. We'll see. Let's do this. Yeah, there. Oh, my. Now, have you ever been? Oh, there it is, right there. A fire exploded in a shipping container. And have you ever been to the port of Miami? There's a lot of stuff that could get messed up if something bad happened. And it's a major shipping yard, so that's interesting. All right, there you go. Thank you, Gunfox, for dropping that into the tip jar. If you want to hijack the show, drop a Hamilton in whatever article or video we want to play, and we'll play it as long as it doesn't show any boobs, butts, penises, or buttholes. Oh, vaginas either. Can't show vaginas. All right. Next, wait, let me make sure this doesn't make any sound. Good. That's from the Thanksgiving Day parade. Okay. Next, there's a couple videos I wanted to play today, and then I'll get to Gunfex's other articles. This one's pretty good. Now, as you know, there have been a lot of protests about Thanksgiving. There are people who protest about Thanksgiving, right? Because the indigenous people of the lands on which the United States, Canada, and Mexico are built. And so this video shows another argument about indigenous people that the young white college students, and well, I shouldn't say just white college students, the young college students are having a trouble comprehending. And I thought it was a great video. It's about 6 minutes long, so we're going to watch this whole thing because it's very interesting watching this. P-Dog Night, there's a second list of news in the Discord that are questionable on YouTube, and those I do not send. No, I'm very aware of some of the stuff you put on Discord that we cannot show on YouTube. I know. Well, I don't know. I know what you're saying. I got you. All right, let's watch this video because this is very informative.
I flew Zionist Native American tribes to New York City. So
Now, did you hear what that says? Zionist Native American tribes to New York City. Okay. That's an interesting phrase. I'm just saying. It's an interesting phrase.
it's Thanksgiving. How do you feel about indigenous rights?
We're visitors on this place.
This was their land first.
We're occupying their land.
How do you feel?
Okay. Remember what he said at the beginning. Okay. Remember what he said at the beginning. What was the first thing he said? He flew Zionist Native American people to New York City. Okay.
This was their land first.
We're occupying their land.
How do you feel about Jews having a claim to the indigenous land of Israel?
I think the Palestinians are indigenous to that land.
See where this is going? These are Native Americans who kind of understand the Jewish plight in Israel. It's interesting. Now listen to this. This is good.
I think they're kind of like occupying as well.
Yeah.
I'd love to share with you maybe some facts.
Sorry. Hello.
Okay.
Okay, Zionists is these are Native Americans who support the right of the Israelis. That's what they mean by Zionist Native Americans. They're not saying that they're not talking about the United States.
I apologize.
Okay. I can see your phone that you're not talking to anybody. When you guys think of Jews, do you guys think of indigenous people?
No. I was misinformed of the subject of this interview.
Second, Israel was part of the indigenous people's conversation. You guys didn't want to talk about it.
Yes.
I am Native.
We recognize our own.
Have any of us truly been to Israel?
Yes.
Y'all went to Israel?
Many years. We've lived there.
They're Zionist Native Americans who see a lot of similarities between Jews and being indigenous to Israel and them and their indigenous nature. So do you have any questions that you'd want to ask?
Israelis are colonizers. Like, do you believe in that? Like,
I don't agree. First of all, most of those people who say that have never been to Israel. There's 3,000 years of archaeological history there. The 7th century, Arabs started Islamicizing all of the Middle East. Right? So they were doing to indigenous tribes ethnic cleansing, genocide, forced
Now, this
conversions.
is something they've
That happened to us
never
in
heard.
Christianity. To remove the indigenous identity of the people, you rename the land. It's like the ultimate insult. And you rename it to the land to their biggest enemies. So the biggest enemies to the Jewish people at that time were the Romans.
I see.
And the Romans are ones who named the land Palestine. Syria, Palestinia.
So they renamed the land Palestinians.
It was only even associated with Muslims more so in the 60s and 70s of the last century.
I didn't know that. I think I need to do my own research on it.
I don't. I'm not saying that we have a case where all lands are conquered, right? But this is more of a take on. You ask college students about, we are doing a land acknowledgement, and they're always so hip to, we should give it back. We should give it to the indigenous people. Until you get to the subject of Israel, which if you want to say the indigenous people, well, who has the longest history on that land in Israel? So it's interesting. It's interesting.
Do it, yes.
The population of Israel are dark Middle Eastern Jewish people, Persians, Iraqi, Moroccan, and the minority are the light-skinned Jews. But even though they're light-skinned, they're still indigenous.
I did Ancestry.com, and it was interesting. It came back that I was 100% European Jew. With a footnote, though, your blood is actually from the Levant. So really, you're from Israel.
As native people, if I go back to my land and get land, I'm not colonizing it. It's being restored. It's land back. So the Jewish people, they've returned home.
If the Jewish people are not indigenous to the land, the question then to me is, well, then where are the Jewish people indigenous to?
The same way Chinese people are from China, Italians are from Italy, Jews are from Judea, which is the land of Israel.
Since their language and their religion and their ethnicity can all be traced scientifically back to the land of Israel, then why is it that they can't receive that indigenous support from the world to have their one spot? Because the Arab people who live in Israel and call themselves Palestinians were actually from neighboring countries that when indigenous people were removed, they were like, oh, well, there's a lot of space.
Yeah.
Let's spread out.
Did you know there was only one?
So, my only purpose in this is when the argument between the Jewish state and the Palestinians is they're saying that the Israelis are colonizers. Okay, which is, they make that argument here about us being colonizers. Well, I don't have a problem. The formation of Israel obviously is a controversial thing, but I always laugh at these kids who are wearing the keffiyehs and running around marching free Palestine when they'll make the exact opposite argument here. Okay, so we've established a country here on supposedly indigenous lands. But they would say that, well, we're the colonizers. But then they call Israelis colonizers when Israelis are actually the indigenous people of the land. And so I'm just showing you the contradiction here. And when you talk to these people, they want to argue one way when it's here, but argue a completely opposite way when it's there.
One Jewish country?
No, I didn't.
Do you know how many Arab and Muslim countries?
And exactly, if he wasn't wearing Indian gear, they would be telling him to go to hell. You're right, amazing disgrace. So anyway.
There's about 54.
No, I didn't.
What would be better is for both to exist in the same area rather than saying like this land must only belong to the Jews, this land must only belong to the Palestinians.
Israel is Arabs with complete equal rights.
Yeah.
You would know that if you visit.
I would not visit.
2 million Arabs live in absolute peace. It's the most beautiful place if you've never been there.
Why is it okay to rape women across somebody else's border?
I believe in violent resistance.
Really do.
I do, as a black.
So she just said, wait a minute. The question was, why is it okay to violate women across the border? And this woman says she believes in violent resistance. Really? It's just, so this, I'm looking at these arguments going, wow, so inconsistent.
Person and as an indigenous person.
Do you know that the word for a black person in Arabic is slave?
I actually am aware of that.
It's probably taken out of context of a whole entire historical thing.
Context is never in Israel's history that they have come into other people's living rooms and cut babies out of their wombs and burned them in ovens and chopped people's heads off who were peacefully living beside them.
I don't know about
So
facts like
if
this.
you want to talk about context,
The biggest decolonization project in history was Israel returning to their land. And even lies about how Israel came to exist. Like, Israel didn't kick anyone off their land. They bought the land from Arabs living there legally, and the two-state solution that was originally promised to both was that the Jews could have part of their indigenous land, not the whole thing, and that the rest would become a Palestine.
Okay, now I'm gonna leave this go because I want to make sure I get some other stuff in. In fact, thank you, Dewey C, dropping a Hamilton in the tip jar with an article to hijack the show. So I'm gonna do a few hijack articles right now. So make sure I get them all in. Thank you very much. Appreciate you for sponsoring the show. So we'll get that one on the list now. Let's just let's get through all the hijacked articles now. Let's hang on a second. We'll skip that. We'll come back. We'll move these over. Where was I here? Right here. Yeah, that's it. All right. So we'll move them. I'm going to move all into order here. Let's get through the hijacked articles now. Gunfox has a couple more, and also thank you, Dewey. And that may just take us through the end of the show. We'll see. Let's start with this one though. An article from MSNBC. Always my favorite. This is by Jeffrey Singer, general surgeon and Clark Packard research fellow at the Cato Institute. Talking about Trump's tariffs. Tariffs will punish Americans and do nothing to solve our fentanyl crisis. I didn't know tariffs were there to solve our fentanyl crisis, but let's see what this is. U.S. citizens are the primary smugglers of fentanyl into the country, and punitive tariffs will only make life worse for all of Americans. Earlier this week, President-elect Donald Trump announced that he will intend to punish all Americans because some Americans buy illicit drugs from traffickers. Is that what he said? Was that the exact announcement? I like how that article spins there, by the way. Most of whom pay U.S. citizens to smuggle them through their legal border crossings. Through increased tariffs, Trump wants to make Americans pay for more goods, or pay more for goods, including domestic manufacturing inputs imported from Canada, China, and Mexico, our three largest trading partners, until the U.S. wins the war on drugs. Now, I know okay, it's it may be part of it. Let's see. According to the New York Times, Trump believes China can do better stopping the flow of Chinese-made fentanyl precursors to the transnational cartels in Mexico, where they are synthesized into fentanyl in underground labs. But fentanyl precursors also come from India, Myanmar, and other parts of Southeast Asia. And Canadian traffickers have recently begun producing fentanyl in super labs, smuggling it into the U.S., Australia, and New Zealand. Well, maybe Canada needs to crack down on those too. I don't know. I don't know if the purpose of tariffs. I think Trump's using tariffs as a negotiation tool as much as anything. Anyway, if China cracks down on domestic precursor labs, that means increased business for the dealers in those other countries. Waging a war on drugs is like playing a game of whack-a-mole. So does it mean you should never play? I was pretty damn good at whack-a-mole, by the way. You ever play whack-a-mole? You know, got that little spongy hammer thing, and you whack the balls as they pop up. I was great at that game. Trump may not realize he's punishing law-abiding Americans for drug prohibition violations because he misunderstands tariffs. During his first term, Trump levied heavy tariffs on imported solar panels, washing machines, steel, aluminum, and about 70% of all products from China. Despite his repeated assertions to the contrary, tariffs are taxes almost always paid by Americans, not foreigners. Countless academic studies by university economists, think tanks, and government agencies found that American consumers, both firms and individuals, paid for and continue to pay for the Trump tariffs. Well, then why hasn't the Biden administration ended them? And again, I'm going to ask the same question. I think I said the same thing yesterday. So tariffs are taxes on foreign companies. Corporate taxes in the United States are taxes on American companies. Do consumers also not pay for corporate taxes that the Harris team was planning on raising, or the Biden team has raised already? So again, you're either taxing companies outside the country that do business, or you tax the countries inside the country that do business. Don't they all raise the price of goods? And if look, is a majority of American products the majority of what we use, or do we use a majority of products from other countries? I'm just curious. Hello, GDSOB, what's up? And Selected Boys here. Yeah, boy. So I'm just curious. Anyway, despite his read assertions that contrary, tariffs are taxes. Okay, I already said that. Given that Mexico, Canada, and China are the United States' three largest trading partners, the pain for American consumers will be particularly acute. American consumers purchased about $1.5 trillion worth of goods and services from the three countries. A back-of-the-envelope calculation by Ernie Tedeschi, Director of Economics at Yale's Budget Lab and former economist for President Joe Biden's Council on Economic Advisors, suggests that tariffs would amount to nearly $1,200 annual tax hike for the average American family. American firms would also have to face severe consequences. Tariffs disrupt tightly integrated supply chains that stretch across North America, bound together by the U.S. Mexico-Canada trade agreement that was brought to you by the Trump team. One of the signature initiatives of the first Trump administration. Import taxes of 25% would be a disaster for automakers in particular. Shares of GM, Ford, Stellantis, owner of Jeep, Chrysler, and Ram, fell in the aftermath of the first tariff threat. Likewise, Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum suggested that Mexico would likely retaliate against the tariffs, and China and Canada could almost certainly do the same, given that American firms export about $1 trillion worth of goods and services to the three countries. Retaliatory tariffs would jeopardize the millions of jobs supported by the exports to the three countries. In short, broad-based tariffs like the ones the president-elect is threatening will increase the tax burden on American firms and families, lead to a loss in wages, reduce consumption, stifle investment, reduce exports, and lower aggregate welfare. What's more, it's unlikely in the unlikely event that Trump's tariffs make it harder for traffickers to obtain fentanyl precursors, drug dealers might find it more attractive to shift from fentanyl to nitazines. I don't even know what nitazines are. Nitazines are more dangerous and potent than fentanyl, belong to the benzimidazole, I'm pronouncing that however, class commonly used in drugs like antacids, antifungal agents, and blood pressure medicines, making their precursors widely available. The shift is already underway. Isotonicides, ISO, linked to overdoses in the U.S. in 2019 is driving a second wave drug crisis in the UK. So we're going to be more like the UK. Isn't that what a lot of these leftists want us to be? Anyway, President Ronald Reagan famously argued that we and our trading partners are in the same boat. If one partner shoots a hole in the boat with tariffs, it makes no sense for the other partner to shoot another hole in the boat. Trump intends to shoot holes in the bottom of our boat until Canada, China, and Mexico are compelled to in some way, somehow help us win the endless, unwinnable war on drugs. During his campaign, Trump pledged for the U.S. to get out of the endless wars. Instead, he'll make Americans pay endless tax. Fantastic. Boy, I don't know. Again, I'm assuming that he's been using it as a bargaining tool, and certainly the president of Mexico already came to the table once saying that they're going to work on stabilizing our border with us. From that side of the border, we'll see where else this goes. So there you go. There's an opinion from MSNBC. Second one of Gunfox gave me here. They're so upset about Trump's charges being dismissed in many of these cases and never getting a sentencing in New York. And his appeal on the E. Jean Carroll case is looking pretty promising. The appeal on the Letitia James case is certainly going to be upsetting to New Yorkers. In fact, that entire prosecution team or whatever is likely to get sanctioned. But let's see what MSNBC has to say about it. This is an opinion piece by Glenn Kirshner, an MSNBC columnist, called Trump's Doomed Criminal Charges Hollowed Out America's Rule of Law Mantra. Did it now? Do you mean the lawfare cases? Come on. Come on.
Come on, man. In
what feels to many of us like a crushing blow to justice. I'm sad already just reading this. Special counsel Jack Smith on Monday moved to dismiss both of President, this is from November 27th, both of President Trump let me get this right. Both of President-elect Donald Trump's federal criminal prosecution, the 2020 election subversion case in Washington, D.C., and the classified documents obstruction of justice espionage case in Florida. Judge Tanya Chutkin promptly dismissed the case. In Florida, Judge Tanya Chutkin promptly dismissed the D.C. case, and a dismissal of the documents cases almost certainly will soon follow. These democracy-busting developments. Wait, whoa, hold on. Democracy busting? This is democracy in action. The American jury has voted to acquit Donald Trump by making him president again. So shut the fuck up about the what did she say? What did he say? Democracy busting developments? No, democracy busted these developments. Busted them right in their ass. Make it clear that at least for the 4 years as president, a president is in office, he is above the law. Now, y'all had some bullshit cases that you didn't bring when you think you should have brought them. If they had brought the cases 4 years ago, right after he left office, they'd all be dismissed on appeal by now. So shut the fuck up. And they're saying that he is above the law, the functional equivalent of a king. No, he's not, because we still have the Senate. But, the Senate is Republican now. Anyway, how did we get here? Well, let's look at the D.C. case. First, in a 4-count indictment, Trump was charged for crimes he allegedly committed while he was president, including a conspiracy to deprive the American people of their voting rights by unlawfully trying to retain the office of presidency, contrary to the expressed will of the American people when they elected Joe Biden as their president. Well, he was questioning some of the election shenanigans that were going on. That's what he was questioning. So, in fact, he abided by the law in the end, right? And you mean you can't have a novel legal theory like all of his cases against him are? Smith presented evidence to a grand jury in Washington. A grand jury is like, it's a stamp of approval on your bullshit depending on what jurisdiction you're in. So a grand jury means nothing to me, including countless Republican witnesses. Oh, wow, countless. I bet you could count them if you use your fingers. And the grand jury concluded there was ample evidence to indict Trump. Wow, has there ever been a grand jury that has agreed to indict somebody where the case actually went to court and then the case lost against the defendant? I could have sworn there have been cases that an indictment is not a conviction. As that case headed for trial, Trump's lawyers filed a motion claiming that presidents have absolute immunity against prosecution for crimes they committed while in office. No, that's not what they filed. They said that there is immunity on official acts. That's what the judge agreed to, at least in part. Notwithstanding, there is no law, no appellate court precedent, and no constitutional support for Trump's claim of presidential immunity. The 6 ideologically conservative members of the Supreme Court decided to conjure up a presidential immunity seemingly out of thin air. Oh, you mean like Roe versus Wade? Essentially bestowing the potential power of lawlessness on American presidents. Notably, the Supreme Court did not conclude that Trump committed no crimes, because that's not what they were being asked. Instead, it returned the case to Judge Chutkan to determine which of Trump's crimes, alleged crimes, should enjoy immunity from prosecution and which should not. While that litigation was ongoing, Trump won the 2024 election, but because the Justice Department's Office of Legal Counsel is one of the opinion that a sitting president cannot be prosecuted, Smith was compelled to dismiss Trump's cases. Well, that's their judgment. They didn't have to do that. So where does that leave us? It's worth remembering that the allegations in the Trump D.C. indictment include 5 areas of alleged criminality. The baseless, there it is, the baseless bad faith court challenges to the 2020 election results filed by Trump's lawyers. Really, were they baseless, or do you just say they're baseless because they were dismissed because of jurisdiction? Let's see. Trump's pressure campaign on state elected officials recalled Trump's recorded request to find 11,700 votes. Yeah, you're taking that out of context. The fake elector scheme, you mean the alternate elective scheme should the court cases win. That, again, it's not fake electors. It's having electors in place should your court case win. Trump's pressuring Vice President Mike Pence to refuse to certify Biden's election win, postpone in case a court case wins, and when all else fails, to call his supporters on January 6th to the U.S. Capitol, fight like hell or you won't have a country anymore. Wow, a rhetorical flourish in which they were going to go peacefully and patriotically protest in an area they had previously rented to continue their rally, which got kind of disrupted by Ray Epps and crew. Interesting. And stop the steal, a not so thinly veiled command to stop the certification of the election results. Yes, let your congressman know how you feel about it. So, is there any hope for accountability of Trump in the future? I fear the answer is not much. Aww. But there is one point of light. Oh, they have a point of light in the darkness. Is this George H.W. Bush? 1,000 points of light? There are 2 ways for a judge to dismiss a criminal case, with prejudice or without prejudice. With prejudice means the case can never be brought or prosecuted in the future. Without prejudice means the case can be re-indicted and prosecuted in the future. Smith asked Chutkan to dismiss the case without prejudice, and she did so. Well, yay. But the justice gods giveth, and the justice gods taketh away. There are several ways Trump and his incoming attorney general can snuff out the possibility of his criminal cases being rebrought in the future. First, Trump could direct his attorney general to file a motion asking Chutkan to reconsider her early dismissal and modify it to a dismissal with prejudice. Thankfully, there are some substantive and procedural hurdles that would make such a request an uphill climb. Second, because the Supreme Court has ruled that a president can exercise his core constitutional functions like issuing pardons, not only with immunity from prosecution, but with a strict prohibition against even investigating a president's motive or intent in exercising said power, Trump could simply pardon himself for all crimes he committed during his lifetime. A cradle-to-grave self-pardon. That is the kind of quasi-royal power on which the Supreme Court has already put its stamp of approval. Has it now? That's fascinating. Third, in the event that he opts not to go the self-pardon route, Trump could simply negotiate a quid pro quo deal with Vice President-elect J.D. Vance. He could resign at some point during his presidency and shuffle off to Mar-a-Lago to play golf and have Vance pardon him for all crimes he may have committed, a la President Gerald Ford pardoning Richard Nixon. Oh my God. This is like the X-Files. I mean, my God, he's coming up with some great theories. And don't get me even started on how the statute of limitations provides that someone has to be prosecuted within 5 years of the date of the offense or the case is time barred. That is another possible impediment to prosecuting Trump, assuming he serves his entire term. Assuming Trump also escapes criminal responsibility for the 34 felony guilty verdicts delivered by a New York jury for crimes he committed before he was elected in the first time around, that will mean Trump will avoid accountability for crimes he committed before, during, and after serving as president. Are we still inclined to recite the hollow mantra that in America no man is above the law? I don't know. Ask Joe Biden or Hillary Clinton or Barack Obama, or maybe even George W. Bush in some ways. I mean, you know, that whole weapons of mass destruction thing. Yeah, no man is above the law. Ask Ray Epps. Ray Epps is slapped with a tiny little misdemeanor. Okay, thank you, Gun Fox, for that one. Let's move on to the next one. This is an update in Syria, which we talked about a little bit yesterday or the last couple days. But this is from the BBC. Stop it. This is from the BBC about who are the rebels seizing control of Syria's second city. We're talking about the group that's taking over Aleppo. Rebel forces launched the largest offensive against the Syrian government in years on Wednesday. By Saturday, they had taken control of large parts of the country's second biggest city, Aleppo. The surprise offensive prompted the first Russian strikes on Aleppo since 2016 and saw Syria's military withdraw its troops from the city. The attack was led by the Islamist militant group Hayat Tahrir al-Sham, which has long involved in history in the Syrian conflict. Who are Hayat Tahrir al-Sham? HTS was set up under a different name, Jabhat al-Nusra, in 2011 and as a direct affiliate of al-Qaeda. So they're an affiliate of al-Qaeda. The leader of the self-styled Islamic State IS group, Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi, was also involved in its formation. It was regarded as one of the most effective and deadly groups ranged against President Assad, but its jihadist ideology appeared to be its driving force rather than revolutionary zeal, and it was seen at the time as at odds with the main rebel coalition under the banner Free Syria. But in 2016, the group's leader, Abu Muhammad al-Jalani, publicly broke ranks with al-Qaeda, dissolved Jabhat al-Nusra, and set up a new organization which took the name Hayat Tahrir al-Sham when it merged with several other similar groups a year later. So, who is control of Syria? Well, the war in Syria has, for the past 4 years, felt as if it were effectively over. President Bashar al-Assad, his rule is essentially uncontested in the country's major cities, while some other parts of Syria remain out of direct control. These include the Kurdish majority areas in the east, which are more or less separate from Syrian state control since the early years of the conflict. There's been some continued and relatively muted unrest in the south, where the revolution against al-Assad's rule began in 2011. In the vast Syrian desert, holdout from the group calling themselves Islamic State still pose a security threat, particularly during the truffle hunting season. What? When people head to the area to find the highly profitable delicacy. And in the northwest, the province of Idlib has been held by jihadists and rebel groups driven there at the height of the war. The dominant force in Idlib is one that has launched a surprise attack on Aleppo. So, for several years, Idlib remained a battleground as Syrian government forces tried to regain control, but a ceasefire deal in 2020 brokered by Russia, which has long been Assad's key ally, and Turkey, which has backed the rebels, has largely held. About 4 million people live there, most of them displaced from towns and cities that Assad's forces won back from rebels in a brutal war of attrition. Aleppo was one of the bloodiest battlegrounds and represented one of the rebels' biggest defeats. To achieve victory, Assad relied on Russian air power and Iranian military help on the ground, and mainly through militias sponsored by Iran. These include Hezbollah. There's little doubt that the setback Hezbollah has suffered recently from Israel's offensive in Lebanon, as well as Israel's strike on Iranian military commanders in Syria, has played a significant part in the decision by jihadists and rebel groups in Idlib to make their sudden, unexpected move on Aleppo. For some time now, HTS has established its base in Idlib, where it is the de facto local administration, although its efforts toward legitimacy have been tarnished by alleged human rights abuses. Oh my gosh, human rights abuses well, never mind. I can't fathom any human rights abuses anywhere else in that part of the world. It has also been involved in some bitter infighting with other groups. Wow, you have sectarian violence between each other? Can't imagine. Here's the problem. Aleppo is also the kind of the base for the largest contingent of Syrian Christians. So it's concerning for those people, I'm sure. Either way, I mean, this fighting is not good for anybody. Since breaking with al-Qaeda, its goal has been limited to trying to establish fundamental Islamic rule in Syria rather than a wider caliphate, as IS tried and failed to do. It has shown little signs of attempting reigniting the Syrian conflict on a major scale and renew its challenge to Assad's rule over much of the country until now. So that tells you a little bit about who they are. Again, at least under Assad, Syrian Christians seem to be somewhat safe. And so that's why it's concerning there. Why is my Siri? No. Oh, my iPhone thought I said Siri. Shut up, Siri. So yeah, that's it's got to be concerning them. And a lot of them are Eastern Orthodox or very Orthodox Christian sects. So there you go. And finally, we got an article here from Dewey C. What? Okay, this is crazy. Here's one for you. Dutch police find garden gnome made of MDMA during drug busts. Hello. Oh, Episkipos Helsing. What's up? Nice to see you. I see you in the chat there. Drugs appear in many shapes and sizes, but every now and then we come across special things, Dongmond police wrote in a translated social media statement. Police in the Netherlands seized a garden gnome made entirely of MDMA during a drug bust on Thursday evening. The Dongmond police recovered the gnome among a batch of other drugs and decided to run tests on the 2-kilogram statue. The force then learned that the gnome was made out of MDMA, an illegal party drug also known as ecstasy. Drugs appear in many shapes and sizes, but every now and then we come across special things. The police wrote in a translated social media statement, it is in itself a strange place to keep your garden gnome, which is why we decided to test it for possible narcotics. The gnome himself was visibly startled. Police added, attaching a photo of the gnome, covering its mouth with two hands. While officers didn't state where the discovery was made, the Dongman police base team covers the municipalities of Oosterhout, Geertruidenberg, and Dribbelen, and Altena in the Netherlands south. Last year, Dutch researchers warned of life-threatening ecstasy pills being circulated throughout the country. A number of golden pills with an Audi logo were found to contain deadly levels of MDMA after being submitted to various drug testing centers in the Netherlands. In December 2023, the Trimbos Institute warned of the pill's dangers, noting that they contain more than 300 milligrams of MDMA, each in a social media post. High amounts of the drug can cause liver, heart, and kidney malfunction as it overheats the body. Absolutely do not use this pill, the Trimbos Institute advised at the time. If taken, or somebody's already taken the pill and experiencing severe effects, call medical services immediately. So, yeah, a garden gnome made of ecstasy. That is one hell of a party right there. There you go. So thank you again, Dewey C. All right, couple hits and misses on the way out. This from last week, Joy Reid put this as part of her Thanksgiving message to MAGA trolls. This is embarrassing. Someone here says, this is embarrassing, honestly. If Joy Reid has a net worth of $4 million, a solid-ish career, and an echo chamber full of people who fawn all over her, and I'm sure family and friends that love her, yet this is the Thanksgiving message she wants out there. So this is part of Joy Reid's Thanksgiving message to your favorite MAGA people. Here we go.
And this time, you didn't even have to storm the Capitol, smash the windows, or try to kill police officers or issue death threats to poll workers. See?
I'm gonna let you finish.
You did it just by voting this time. Congrats. You got your way.
Yes, and Trump won.
And he even got away with breaking the law. Yay.
No, not really.
But if you expect the 73 million who voted for the prosecutor, not the felon, and particularly the 92% of black women who voted for Kamala to give you a cookie.
So 6% of the population or less. And?
For your vote, a trophy, a hug, a high five. You might be asking too much. If we want to eat with you, we will. But if we just want some peace over the holidays and we don't want to put up with your trolling while we eat our tofurkey, get over it. Stop acting like we owe you. And for God's sakes, stop whining. It's embarrassing.
That last part was fairly ironic. I just got to tell you. That last line, that's ironic. Anyway, someone had put part of this speech to music, and I think this is even a better version of this particular speech. Here we go. This is a much better version. Here it is.
Make your own dinner, MAGA. Make your own sandwiches. Wipe your own tears. Troll amongst yourself with Elon and leave us alone. You got your heart's desire, the president you dreamed of, and worship instead of Jesus.
Much better.
And this time, you didn't even have to storm the Capitol, smash the windows, or try to kill police officers or issue death threats to poll workers. See? You did it just by voting this time.
Both versions are in the links, by the way. Okay, and then finally, I got two more. Let's see. Oh, Joe Walsh. I'm going to skip Joe Walsh. I'm tired of him. Not the good Joe Walsh, the bad Joe Walsh. Let's Oh, no, it's in reference to this article. Well, I'm still going to skip it. So Joe Walsh put this thing out about here. He says, for most of us never-Trumpers, it's never been about trying to remain relevant. No, you are absolutely trying to remain relevant, Joe. It's nonstop, never-Trump post every day, 20 times, 30, 40 times a day. He spends his entire day on Twitter bashing Trump voters, whatever, and himself, because he's a dumbass. But anyway, he's referencing this article in Politico. The anti-Trump movement is in tatters, and now it's scrambling to remain relevant. Oh, yes, it is. Yes, it is. Trump's convincing win allowed him to quickly consolidate power within his party, and as he prepares to move to Washington. Donald Trump's victory splintered the already fractured Never Trump movement into shards and further boxed out his MAGA outcasts, leaving some of his most prominent Republican critics scrambling for relevance in a reordered GOP. I think that's spot on. In recent days, former UN Ambassador Nikki Haley ripped into two of President-elect Trump's top appointees, Tulsi Gabbard and Robert F. Kennedy Jr., on her radio show. Former Virginia Representative Barbara Comstock skewered Trump's nominees as a cabinet of Putinist and pedophiles, and former Vice President Mike Pence attempted to rally anti-abortion conservatives against Kennedy as Trump's Health and Human Services Secretary. But they were screaming their words of caution from the sidelines as Trump, already having overhauled their party, forged ahead with remakings of Washington in his MAGA image. And he is doing so with the backing of broadly supportive congressional Republicans who have little political incentive to listen to his detractors. The Never Trumpers and Lincoln Project folks just need to climb back under their rocks for a few years, said Scott Reed, the veteran GOP strategist and leader of the pro-Pence Committed to America PAC. Trump's convincing win allowed the president-elect to quickly consolidate power within his party as he prepares to return to Washington, and it has scattered the remnants of the Republican resistance to him back to their respective corners to regroup. Some, like Haley and Pence, who criticized the former boss on some issues but remain aligned with him on others, still believe they can change a GOP that has near fully bent its knee to Trump. That's an interesting way to put it. But others, particularly those among the pillars of the original Never Trump movement who were long ago pushed aside by their party or left it on their own volition, have given up trying to resurrect republicanism as they know it. And they mention Joe Walsh in particular, who has just become literally a left-wing Democrat if you read his feeds. Joe Walsh, a former Republican congressman and prominent Trump critic who challenged him for the party's nomination in 2020 before becoming an independent, said the former president's reelection has taken reforming the Republican Party off the table. He also believes it has dimmed the prospects for disaffected Republicans to form a new party. It's down to two options, Walsh said in an interview: productively throw rocks at the administration, kind of be like a group in exile and from a distance do what we can to damage MAGA, knowing we can never go back, or become Democrats, which he's done the latter. Look, it's funny because Joe Walsh still claims to be a conservative, but he backs every left-wing policy and even doesn't, the cognitive dissonance of him stumping for Kamala Harris has never occurred to him. Trump's GOP skeptics broadly appear to be starting with the former, seizing on his cabinet selection process as a way to both continue challenging his MAGA agenda and reassert their own political relevance. Haley, a more traditional foreign policy hawk, warmonger, recently used her radio show to assail Gabbard's foreign policy views, criticized the former Democratic Congresswoman as a Russian, Iranian, Syrian, and Chinese sympathizer, or just anti-war. She also attacked Kennedy as a liberal Democrat who has no background in health care. Like a lot of these cabinets have backgrounds in some of the things they get appointed to. Yeah, it doesn't happen. She reiterated those serious concerns in an email to her political supporter list on Tuesday, promoting a radio show in which she shared a survey soliciting top priorities for the Republican governing trifecta in Washington. Trump, however, has made clear that Haley, the most significant GOP primary rival, which is a bit of an oxymoron, who later embraced his candidacy, will not be invited back for his second term. Then there's Pence, who declined to endorse the former running mate after his own failed presidential bid. The conservative former vice president initially said he was very encouraged by Trump's initial cabinet picks, only later to attack Kennedy, who expressed disparate views on abortion as deeply concerning to millions of pro-life Americans who have supported the Republican Party and our nominee for decades. Now, look, I'm fine that Pence is concerned about the pro-life movement, right? But not all Republicans are. Republicans, amazingly, have a very wide views on that particular subject. And some are like mine, where I'm like, it's got to be legal, but you got to have some kind of restrictions. There's some point where it becomes extremely barbaric, to others who want to ban it altogether. But we're all Republicans still. So we have, sorry, Mike, we do have some disparate views. And it's just, it is. Mine do not come from my religious background. If I were doing it from strictly my religious standpoint, it'd be like, oh no, you can't do that. But I have a pragmatic view that doesn't necessarily put me on the same level as everybody else. I respect your view. I have a little bit different view, but that's, whatever. And Kennedy's, I don't have a problem with Kennedy, because his is mostly about health. And so whatever, he can disagree with the administration on some things. Anyway, but the opinions of Haley and Pence, or those more staunchly anti-Trump Republicans who have criticized his cabinet picks as bad for national security or simply unqualified for the prospective post, aren't exactly widely regarded within the MAGA movement. No. And I don't have a problem with Mike Pence. Mike Pence did his job in a principled way, what he believed. I disagree with what he believed. I think he could have postponed it and whatever, but he didn't, and whatever. He's a peacemaker in some ways. But I'm not a fan of him. I'm not interested in hearing Mike Pence right now, because Mike Pence he's gone. Don't care. Okay. Although I respect some opinions that he has, not all. Anyway, but this is the prominent view of Mike Pence. Who cares what Mike Pence thinks, said Mike Davis, the former Senate GOP aide and Trump most outspoken legal defender. Pence's team did not respond to a request for comment, while Haley's team declined to comment. What? Oh, one didn't respond, one declined their comments to Politico. And it remains unclear whether Trump's critics will leverage what minimal political capital and money they have through their advocacy groups and super PACs, such as Pence's Advancing American Freedom, to oppose any of his nominations that they've deemed problematic. Instead, many across the spectrum of Trump's skeptics are looking to Congress to continue to hold the line against his more controversial maneuvers, and they are seeing signs for hope in Senate Republicans' early resistance efforts, selecting John Thune as a majority leader over Rick Scott, despite Trump's allies backing the Florida senator, and pushing the scandal-ridden former Florida Representative Matt Gaetz out of the running for Attorney General before he could come up for a vote, or Trump could use his nuclear option, recess appointments, to force him through. That's the only way for Trump to be checked, and sort of in-group moderates, the people who are members of the Republican Party who don't give Trump carte blanche, and who will push back against the most damaging things, said Sarah Longwell, an anti-Trump GOP strategist and publisher of The Bulwark, the bullshit work. You're going to need people in the Republican Party not to cave completely to Trump. But congressional Republicans may be less willing to buck Trump once he resumes office in January, and the business of vetting his cabinet picks moves out from behind closed doors. Public acts of defiance risk not just Trump's wrath, but primary challenges in 2026, and few GOP senators are positioned to win re-election without his voters. Meanwhile, the number of Trump's opponents in the upper chamber will again dwindle in the next Congress, and the remaining two Republican senators who voted for his impeachment, Susan Collins of Maine and Lisa Murkowski of Alaska, will no longer be enough to tank his nominations on their own. It's got to start in Congress, Jeff Duncan, the former Republican lieutenant governor of Georgia, who endorsed Vice President Kamala Harris over Trump, said in an interview, "You've got to have serious-minded senators willing to hold the conservative line and filter out much anger and grievance-filled decision-making as possible." Yeah, good luck with that. Again, you got Murkowski and Collins. Well, Lindsey Graham's wishy-washy too. There's a couple others. Trust me, there's a couple other wishy-washy ones. But if that bulwark crumbles, so too might the last vestiges of the broader Trump resistance. Look, I say let him have what he wants, and he can sink or swim with it. And the American people will just make decisions based on what actually happens, rather than your wild speculation of doom and gloom. Y'all need to just settle the fuck down, as far as I'm concerned. So there you go. There's that. And finally, I was going to finish on, here. I'm going to skip. There's a thread here about Thanksgiving that I wanted to do yesterday that I didn't get to. Because, we saw that thing about Frank Luntz posting the average cost of Thanksgiving dinner estimated $58.08 for a 10-person gathering, which is a fucking joke. Down 5% from last year, which I just don't believe. Sorry. I know what we spent, and that was like the turkey and a couple side items was more than $60. But anyway, This woman had to tell a story. I want to tell you a story about food that I've never told anyone before because I've been ashamed for 30 years. When I was 25. Oh, she talks about how she scolded her kid after they spilled something on the stove and they were tight for money. And she was really upset with herself all these years about scolding her child. Her child doesn't remember it, but her parenting changed after that. It's a great story. I'm going to leave the thread in, but I'm not going to read it. But I do suggest you take a look at it. It will be in the links. And then finally, this article. Now, this is in the Ace of Spades blog, so it has several articles linked to it, but I'm just going to go through the basics of it, and then we're going to get out of here. And this is Venezuelan gangs operating in Tennessee's mid-sized cities. You know how you always hear when Republicans say something controversial, the Democrats will say, well, it's not happening. And then you find out it's happening. Well, it's happening, but it's not that bad. And then you find out it's really that bad. Well, it's happening, but it's not that bad, and it's not terrible. Then it's like, well, find out it's terrible, and then they'll start saying, oh, well, it's actually a good thing that that's happening because, well, we're at that stage. Here it is. And this is the theme. Venezuelan gangs operating in Tennessee's mid-sized cities. It's actually a good thing. So we all know the propaganda sequence that occurs when conservatives shed light on the woke pathologies of the left, which are imposed on society. It starts out it's not happening. Then it may be happening a little, but it's not that big a deal. Well, it's actually a good thing that it's happening. And then finally, only a bigot would oppose it from happening. The story of Venezuelan gang Tren de Aragua, operating throughout Tennessee, including smaller cities such as Knoxville and Chattanooga, is quickly working its way through the left's propaganda sequence. This foreign gang activity is deep in the heartland is a result of the open-door policies that Democrats and the left support. While I may have taken some liberties in the headline about which stage of the sequence we're at, it's not happening stage quickly became inoperable after only a few days. On Friday, November 15th, David Rush, director of the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation, stated that violent Venezuelan gangs were operating in all of Tennessee's major cities, not just Memphis and Nashville, but also Knoxville and Chattanooga. TBI director says I'll link all the articles after this. I'm not going to go through them. Local officials in Chattanooga quickly pushed back. So the article he linked here was this one. TBI director says violent Venezuelan gang operating in Chattanooga and other large Tennessee cities. And then the second article he linked, no evidence of Venezuelan gang in Chattanooga area after TBI director raised flags. So that's it's not happening stage. Chattanooga Police Department Chief John Chambers said his department had no evidence to indicate that the gang is actively operating in our city in a statement posted on social media Monday. Well, in fact, despite the director of TBI stating on the record that Venezuelan gangs were engaged in criminal activity in Chattanooga, including human trafficking, Chattanooga Mayor Tim Kelly flippantly dismissed the TBI's warning, stating to a local TV station that Tren de Aragua's criminal activity is not a concern for us right now in Chattanooga. Now, to be fair, Tim Kelly is a trust fund eco-leftist who believes his purpose as mayor is to save the world from global warming. There is no reason to doubt his sincerity when Mayor Kelly states that the South American gang activity in Chattanooga does not concern him. Just 1 week later, however, a Tren de Aragua member was arrested in Chattanooga. There's the article there, I'll leave that. In Operation Crime and Justice, a member of the violent Venezuelan gang now operating in Tennessee is charged in connection with a human trafficking operation in Chattanooga. Earlier this month, the TBI warned of the growing TDA gang in Tennessee's major cities. So then they got this article where they've arrested one. They're not a concern, but now they've arrested one. Now, Tennessee's Conservative News has a pretty good roundup of this story, which notes that 3 women were also arrested, but rather than being Tren de Aragua members, these women apparently being held in captivity and forced into prostitution. Oh, yay! TBI Director Roush stated of these women, they are victims as well and live in great fear of their captors, and many women are kidnapped off the streets in Venezuela and then forced into prostitution in the U.S. So in other words, these women are sex slaves that have been smuggled into the U.S. by criminal Venezuelan gang. Slavery is alive and well in Chattanooga, and the city's Democrat mayor says this is not a concern of his. Well, isn't that special? And as the propaganda sequence plays out, it's only a matter of time now until we've been told that only a bigot would oppose a Venezuelan gang operating a sex slavery rings in Tennessee. So all the articles that they linked in this are here. There you go. There you go. Fan-fucking-tastic. So that's the roundup of what's going on there. That's it for today, gang. Thank you for being here. It's amazing to have you here on a Saturday. I don't do this that often. Let's see, a couple other notifications here, though. Where's it at? Where's it at? Some more people. Thank you, by the way, for, Robert Banks and Uncle Hotep. Are you here? Good God. Reaction Puerto Rico, everyone who retweeted the show. Here's a couple more Let's Go's for you. This one from Reaction Puerto Rico. Let's go. That's awesome. That's awesome. And also, Gunfox dropping articles and saying, thank you, Somnambul Nation, with a little Mario. Let's go. I appreciate all of you so much. That's it for today, though. Let me drop some links in the chat and we'll get the hell out of here. I will be back Monday at my normal time. I may be a little tired because we start our overnight work at the good old Ups. But that's it. All right, here are the links. Copy and paste the links. And that's all for today. I got to go. You all have a wonderful freaking day. My name is P Dog Knight. And I'm out of here. Bye-bye. See you Monday. Hey, this is P Dog Knight. And thank you for watching today on the P Dog Knight channel. If you have an observation or remark you'd like to make about this video or my channel, I absolutely welcome you to write it in the comment section down below. I really look forward to hearing from you. And before you go, if you like what you saw but you're not already subscribed, please make sure you hit the subscribe button and definitely click that bell that pops up afterwards so you'll be notified when I post new videos or when we go live. I broadcast my live show, The Morning Night Live, Monday through Friday at 10 o'clock Eastern, 9 o'clock Central. A special thank you to all the supporters of this channel who share our videos on social media and who make donations through Streamlabs, YouTube, Venmo, and Cash App, which are all linked in the description down below. Thanks again, and until next time, I'm P Dog Knight, and I'm out of here.